Hi, I'm Martha. Welcome to my sewing studio. Today I'm going to show you everything I purchased yesterday at Brimfield Antique Market. Brimfield is about an hour and 45 minutes from where I live, so I love to go whenever I have the chance. I went twice last year and I kind of stocked up on a lot of stuff, and I was excited to go again this year. My favorite month to go is May. I find the weather to be a little bit more mild. Yesterday we had a bright sunny day. It was like in the 70s. Honestly, like perfect weather for Brimfield because you're walking a ton, you're out in the sun all day. If it's rainy or muddy, it's like not quite as fun, and I think the vendors are less likely to put out nice stuff if the weather's bad, like they don't want it getting wet and stuff like that. So we just had a perfect day. Brimfield has thousands of vendors. I've read it's anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 vendors, so it can be very overwhelming. Personally, I go in with a list and I'm pretty specific about what I want to purchase. I also have vendors that I go see each time, and I love seeing them again, seeing what's new, and I also really like to show them what I've done with the materials I purchased from them last time. I did that with 3 different people yesterday, and it was really fun to, as I was checking out and buying new materials, to be like, here's what I did with the lace that I bought from you a year ago. They're always excited to see it, and it's kind of fun to connect in that way. It's obviously also very exciting to discover new vendors or just see what different people have. There's just a lot of turnover. You could probably buy like literally anything that you can think of there. There's definitely a focus on fashion, so vintage and antique clothing, furniture, literally any item you could think of for your home or workspace, they have it. But you do need to look, and so it's good to have a focus and not get distracted. The items always on my list are fabrics, and there's a lot of textiles, like an overwhelming huge amount of textiles, and so I kind of had to draw some lines for myself this time, so I was not going to buy a quilt top. That kind of broke my heart. I wanted to, but I have enough. I'm always looking for vintage and antique tins for storage here in my sewing space, and specifically I had one for potato chips on my list, and I'm also looking always for lace, specifically French insertion lace, and then any kind of eyelet or embroideries that aren't too worn, aren't too old. You can find a lot of antique laces, crocheted lace, eyelet, handmade, machine made, very fine laces, and a lot of them are quite yellowed, and I do know you can restore them because I have done it myself. You can whiten them again, but just in terms of like the aesthetic and the style of the lace, I like something slightly newer. By newer, I still mean antique, but I do just have some preferences, so when I show you everything, you'll probably kind of see the aesthetic of my preference. Also, just if you are familiar with my sewing, you kind of know the stuff that I like. So I'm going to show you everything that I bought. I'm going to tell you the price of everything. To preemptively answer this question of if these vendors have stores, Etsy stores, eBay stores, a physical store, they usually do not. I always ask. They tend to like not have a business card, not have any way of contacting them. They're like, I come to Brimfield 3 times a year and that's it. There's not stores where you can find most of these people, but if you go to Brimfield, they will reliably be there. And typically they'll say, I'm always in this field, but I move around within this field. Or some of them will say, I'm always in this exact spot. And they will be. If you return, 2-3 years later, they will still be in that exact same spot. If you are interested in these things, I would say you kind of have to go, but I think it's worth it. And you will reliably see people there. You will reliably be able to find certain kinds of materials if you know where to look. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with the largest item first. This is my chips tin. I'm really obsessed. I've been looking for a potato chip tin for maybe 3 or 4 years, and they tend to be quite expensive. Some of them are like $50 to $85. I found this one for $15, and I love everything about it. I'm especially smitten with the color scheme and the simplicity of the graphic design. I love things that have almost like a generic look to them. So this is gonna fit right in my tin collection. It's also a size of tin that I don't currently own, so that's nice too. It will definitely be useful to me. I'm wondering what I will put in here. I'm not sure yet. Okay. I'm excited. I haven't looked in here since I got home. I'm gonna start with the first item that I purchased. This is an entire bolt of narrow goods embroidered ruffle fabric. I paid $38. I have no idea how many yards are on here, but it's a lot. I would say typically if you want to buy a fabric like this to make like a tiered dress or skirt, or the woman who sold this to me said she had always imagined making a tiered shower curtain out of it. Whenever I've tried to buy this kind of fabric, when you think of making a tiered skirt or something, you're gonna need like 20 yards of this, and by the time you sort of add it to your cart, it's like, that's quite expensive. So for $38, $48. I feel this was a steal. This is not like a super fine cotton or anything. I imagine this might even have a touch of polyester in it, but I think for the look and for this sort of novelty kind of textile, this is a super exciting find for me. I like can't wait to use this. I have a lot of ideas and I kind of need to like hit pause and think about them and what would really make sense for use here. I think it would be fun to combo it with another fabric. It also would be fun to, as a challenge, only use this and think of ways to piece this together to make other parts of the garment that aren't naturally, you know, obviously a tier is a rectangle, but how would you make the bodice? What kind of sleeve? Is the sleeve a big ruffle? Fun things to think about. So from that vendor, I also bought these 2 bags. These both have 3 yards of eyelet and they were $5 each. This is a finer textile than what's on that big roll. It's really lovely. Oh, this is just a really crispy white and it's quite fine, really, really pretty. If you're familiar with my blog, you know that I've written pretty comprehensive shopping guides to shopping in Manhattan's garment district. I'm a real Midtown rat and I'm creeping up on 20 years of spending time in Midtown. You can't find this kind of material in Midtown. I tend to go to places like Brimfield or other large flea markets, estate sales, for things that you can't find in Midtown. A lot of what ends up in Midtown is sourced from Korea or China, India, other places as well. But if you're looking for something that has come from Europe or that is antique, you're not going to find it there. Sometimes there is vintage stuff in Midtown and a lot of it's just like it's been there the whole time. Like it's still just there. And there is amazing antique ribbon and findings and notions at certain stores. I'm thinking specifically of East Coast trimming. The price point is quite high because they're in Manhattan and they need to support that. They need to, you know, pay rent. But if you're going to a place like Brimfield, I think the overhead is pretty low for the vendors and they might just have a lot of this stuff and they're like pricing it to sell. So something to think about. Okay, what have we here? I bought these from the sweetest woman. When I went to check out, she said, oh, I'll give you 20% off. And then as she was handing me the bag, she said, you're gonna make something really beautiful. Which I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I would say when I buy stuff like this, the vendors almost always ask me, what are you gonna do with that? And I usually say, oh, I'm gonna sew myself some clothes. If it's someone I've bought from before, I'll say, oh, let me show you. Here's what I, you know, made last time. But it was just sweet. She sort of said that unprompted and I was like, I am. So here is a kind of French insertion lace. This is usually called beading when it has this kind of sort of hole in the center. These are like elongated shaped holes. That's called beading. This is 3/4 of an inch wide, which is a lovely width. She does not label how much is here. Oh, I'm gonna show you the card that she put this on because I hadn't noticed this. It is for a 1986 antique show in Woburn, Massachusetts. So that might be something that predates Brimfield. And then this one, I actually haven't seen one like this in a while. I find this one to be quite unusual. This is also sort of an insertion or entre-deux trim. And I would guess this is Swiss. It's very finely sewn around each of these little holes. And you know I love ladder lace. I love anything like this. So to me, the opportunity to insert this into another fabric, spectacular. And there's like a lot of it here. So this one was $10, this one was $12, and she sold these to me for $18. A nice little bargain. Another thing I'll add, bring cash. Bring cash. A lot of vendors don't accept a card or they only accept a card over a large amount. So for example, if you're going to buy a piece of furniture, you're fine with a card. But if you want to bargain, bring cash. You know, if someone's like, oh, those are $25 and you say, I'll give you this $20 bill for it, they might say yes. But if you're trying to do that with a credit card, they're like, who cares? So I always bring a lot of cash. That's also how I stay on budget. I usually bring a set amount and I'm like, that's how much I can spend. I stayed under budget yesterday, so that's good. All right, this is my final bag. You can see I didn't buy a ton of stuff, but I love everything I got. This woman, I love this woman. I've bought from her a bunch of stuff before and I've already used all of it. She's really got what I like. So this piece is for $5. I bought 9 yards, but it's in 2 pieces. This is a very beautiful cotton French insertion lace. I love this. It's really pretty. I find that if I give this a little bit of a soak in OxiClean, it'll come out nice and white. It'll crisp up when you iron it. Love. Okay, and then here I have 4.5 yards for $10. I'm being so for real with you. Like, I have spent so much time in the garment district shopping for stuff like this. I think you'd be hard pressed to find this I would say this would probably be between $8 and $18 per yard if you were to buy this new in Midtown. And I don't know that you could buy something this fine. This is a very fine cotton. So 4.5 yards for $10 is just such a wonderful bargain. I love that she's used rayon seam binding, probably a little bit of snug hug there, and she always packages everything on vintage postcards, which is so sweet. I save them. I have a bunch of them in my stash. I thought this was just lovely. And this is another one that I will give a little soak in something like OxyClean, some kind of oxygenated bleach. I tried. Okay, so fun. I also like that I'm wearing eyelet as I talk about all of these. This is a Homer and Howell's Ingrid blouse. My previous video, I sewed one, and this one is linen and eyelet. I didn't have enough of either fabric to make a whole blouse, so I comboed them. And these are my quick sew overalls. I wore these yesterday as well. And this video will be coming to YouTube soon, maybe on Friday or Saturday, actually this week. I sewed these and I have been loving them. That's my Brimfield haul this time around. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.